Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you enjoy stories told with care and context, you're in the right place. Today's video follows a thread of kindness that began years ago on a set, traveled quietly through time, and resurfaced this week in a gesture so small and so thoughtful that it set entire timelines smiling. Our names are familiar: Elçin, Sangu, Arduç, and right at the heart of it Gupse Özai. This isn't a scandal or a publicity stunt. It's a human-scale moment, one artist celebrating another artist's growing family, and doing it with grace. Let us set the stage. The public story of Gupse Özai and Arduç is well known. Their friendship started on the set of Deliha, ripened into love, and in 2020 they married in Sesma. Since then, they've protected their private life with a steady calm that fans have come to respect. Along the way, they've each built work that stands on its own: scripts written, roles taken, projects finished not for the noise they make, but for the craft inside them. When the couple's baby news arrived shared in Gupse Özai's unmistakable voice, with her blend of humor and candor, people didn't just celebrate the headline. They celebrated the tone. It sounded like two adults moving at a rhythm that belongs to them. In that context, the detail that traveled fastest was simple: they are expecting a baby girl. The words "we're going to be parents" can turn even the most seasoned public figures into joyful amateurs, and Gupse admitted as much in her own way, teasing future ideas, promising to prioritize the arrival, and hinting at scripts waiting on the desk until the feeding schedules allow a few consecutive hours of sleep. Bar, asked about baby questions before, kept the focus on timing and intention. There's a season for everything, he suggested, and the best promises are the ones you keep. Enter Elçin Sangu. For many viewers, her name sits in permanent proximity to Barış because of the cultural moment they created together on Kirak Ask. Years after the final scene, fans still trade clips to explain what timing looks like when it's effortless and how a glance can be funnier than a line. But what has always distinguished their off-screen rapport is restraint. No melodrama. No opportunistic callbacks. Respect without theatrics. Which is why the new thread Elçin picking out a tiny pair of pink baby shoes for Barış's daughter felt less like nostalgia and more like continuity. A quiet salute. A note that says, "I saw your joy, and I'm happy for you." Let us talk about why that detail landed so beautifully. First, it's specific. Baby gifts can be practical or symbolic, shoes often do both. They're adorable, yes, but they also whisper the future: first steps, first trips to the park, first stubborn refusals to nap. Second, it's proportionate. Elçin didn't post a 30-slide tribute. She didn't turn someone else's milestone into content. She let the gesture carry the message and kept the focus where it belongs, on the family at the center of the news. In an age that often confuses visibility with value, proportion is its own kind of elegance. There's also history here, and it matters. On Kirak Ask, the professionalism between Elçin Sangu and Arduç earned them the kind of public trust that outlives ratings. You could feel it in the way scene work sharpened over time, and in the way press tours never tipped into spectacle. Audiences remember that. So when news broke that Bar and Gupse were preparing to welcome a baby girl, many fans instinctively wondered whether Elçin would acknowledge it. Not because they wanted to reheat an old ship, but because they hoped the past would send a blessing forward. The little shoes did exactly that. Behind every thoughtful gift is a principle: celebrate without trespassing. That's what you can hear underneath this moment. The lives of public people are chronically overlit, a new baby magnifies that glare. A generous response is the one that adds warmth without adding heat. A small box, a card, a wordless understanding. These are the instruments of care among people who know how expensive attention can be. If you're looking for an etiquette lesson disguised as celebrity news, here it is. When joy belongs to someone else, show up in a way that keeps it intact. Let us widen the lens and look at why this story resonated beyond the fanbases. The entertainment world is built on collaboration, but it also runs on rivalry. Headlines like conflict, algorithms reward controversy. In that climate, an unambiguous act of goodwill stands out. It reminds us that careers can overlap without colliding, that CO stars can become colleagues who cheer each other on from a thoughtful distance, and that the bonds created by years of shared work don't have to dissolve when the credits roll. The people who make the best sets possible tend to understand this. So do the audiences who stay. Another reason the moment rippled, it threaded three narratives without tangling them. There is the family arc of Gupse Ozai and Bar Arduç, domestic, deliberate, and now expanding. There is the professional arc of Elçin Sangu, choosing projects carefully, signaling a creative range that includes, increasingly, a director's eye. And there is the cultural arc of viewers who grew up alongside these names and now find themselves rooting for something sturdier than mere star power, a community of artists who model how to win without making someone else lose. The pink shoes belong to that third arc as much as to the first two. What about reactions? You could watch them take shape in real time. Fans mined old interviews for hints of this future, posted montages of favorite scenes, and paired them with messages for the baby, wishes for health, for laughter, for a childhood that knows more play than pressure. Others focused on the friendship, the notion that affection can mature into a version of love that isn't romantic but is no less real. A smaller cohort did what the internet always does and tried to overread a shoe size like tea leaves. Even there, the energy was more affectionate than invasive, which tells you something about the goodwill these names have banked. It's also worth noting what did not happen. There was no forced group photo, no triangulated PR push, no attempt to convert the gesture into a campaign. That restraint is part of the story. It allows the center Gupse and Bar, waiting for their daughter to stay centered. It honors a mother who has always written in her own register, who has earned the right to frame her family news without a chorus of commentators. It honors a father who learned early how to step around frenzy and toward steadiness. And it honors an old partner who understands that the best congratulations are the ones that don't ask for anything back. If you're a longtime viewer wondering how to be part of this moment without adding noise, here are a few simple wins. Celebrate loudly and share responsibly. If you post, keep the captions about the family's joy rather than imaginary timetables. If you stumble across images that clearly weren't meant for public circulation, resist the repost. If you want to transform happiness into something that lasts, consider supporting the causes these artists have quietly championed over the years: literacy, animal welfare, arts education. Babies outgrow shoes, good programs grow kids. As for the baby herself, the star of a story she hasn't even heard yet, she will one day inherit a few objects with stories attached. A knit blanket that made it through the wash the night before the due date. A crib assembled incorrectly once and correctly the second time. A tall stack of books with notes in the margins from two writer parents. And a pair of pink shoes from a woman who once stood opposite her father and learned his timing by heart so that millions of strangers could believe in two characters for an hour every week. Those shoes will be adorable for a season and then too small forever. Their meaning will not shrink. Before we close, a word about why we tell these stories in this way. Not every update needs a magnifying glass, not every kindness needs a camera. But when a gesture crosses from private into public, it can teach. It can push back against cynicism. It can remind us that fame is at its best when it is used to soften the day for someone else, sometimes with a big platform, sometimes with something small enough to fit in your palm. In that sense, this isn't only a story about Elçin, Sangu, Arduç, and Ozai. It's a tiny blueprint for how to move through a crowded world without stepping on anyone. Thank you for spending this time with us at Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you value coverage that keeps people human and moments intact, subscribe, tap the bell, and consider joining as a member so we can keep bringing you stories at the speed of care instead of the speed of rumor. In the comments, tell us your favorite kind of congratulations to give or to receive. A card, a call, something handmade. We read everything, and your ideas often become the best part of this channel. We'll be watching for the next chapter the way we always do, from a respectful distance, cheering for health, for sleep-filled nights when they finally arrive, and for a childhood full of firsts that don't have to be photographed to count. Until then, here's the image that stays with us tonight: a small box, a handwritten note, and two parents smiling at the thought of a little pair of feet that will change the size of their world.